People say, I don't know if you say this in Singapore, people will say in Canada, oh, what you don't know can't hurt you.
Right.
Right? That's not true. What you don't know can hurt you.
Yeah.
But I didn't know almost killed me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. I'm your host, Charmaine E. And it's always good to have you tuned in or watching us. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited to be spending time with our guest today, who's in the hot seat here, Candace Carnahan, who is an internationally recognized safety speaker, empowerment advocate, and storyteller. Today, we're going to get into her story. But before we hear from her, allow me to set the context. Well, early in her career, at 21 years old, Candace experienced a life-changing workplace injury. Well, since then, she's gone on to transform that experience into a lifelong mission to help organizations to build safer and more caring workplaces. So a lot of you remember Candace because she was our WSH Conference 2026 keynote speaker, and that was something that really left an impression on all of us because it challenged us to look at safety through the lens of leadership, psychological safety, as well as shared responsibility, and a great reminder as well at the time that every voice has the power to prevent harm. So we're going to get more into that today. We're going to be hearing more about her journey and what we can all do to create workplaces that make people feel safe to speak up. Candace,
Charmaine, thank you. What a beautiful introduction.
thank you for the time.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Welcome back to Singapore.
Thank you. Yes, as I mentioned when we were chit-chatting, I was only here for one day before. So to have a full week to explore and it's amazing.
It's so great to have you here with us. And I do want to, of course, zoom in straight into what people know you as, workplace safety advocate, right? That was perhaps not quite the career that you envisioned for yourself when you first started out.
No, absolutely.
So if you could take us to the day of, right? Was there a moment you felt that, or it kind of clicked where you realized your life was going to be
very different
forever?
Well, I think, the moment I woke up and looked down and saw that my leg was missing was definitely the moment that I realized that everything had changed forever.
Right.
And really, every time I'd go back to sleep, I would think maybe it was a bad dream, and then I would wake up. So it took a lot of going to sleep and waking up before I could even really believe that it happened. So I think for me, obviously, I was I was injured in a workplace incident when I was 21 at a paper mill. And it was a job that was offered to any of the children of employees. So my mother was an accountant and she worked there. But I worked out on the floor, the manufacturing floor. And stepping over the belt on August 11th in 1999 was that step that almost took my life. And, 30 minutes of being stuck in the machine. And I remember it all. But now that I actually just said to you about going to sleep and waking up and going to sleep and waking up, it just occurred to me that I think I was probably in shock for longer after the incident than I actually cared to admit until right now. Right?
When you say it took a long time, are we talking like you took your weeks, months to really register?
I think probably like even to this day, sometimes I wake up or I see somebody on a movie and they wake up in the morning and they put their feet on the ground to get up. And that looks foreign to me. The thought of being able to just put your feet down and standing, because obviously I have to put my leg on. So sometimes it still catches me off guard.
Right.
But also it was 27 years ago. And I've spent more time with my leg missing than I did with both of my legs. So I'm certainly used to it right now.
Yeah. You're a lot stronger right now.
Yes. Yeah.
You are. And so, you've really taken it into your stride, I feel.
I hope so.
I can see that. I can see the strength.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's important in anything in life that you look at the big picture to have perspective.
Yeah.
Because if we are I can basically relate everything to safety. So even if you're in a bad mood, you had a fight with your spouse, something happened and you don't think it's fair, and you're going over this in your head, if you're not living in a space where you feel gratitude, perspective, you also are not aware. You're not self-aware. So it's difficult to see a car that's running a traffic light or a person that needs help or a hazard that hasn't been identified. If in your head you're saying, I'm so mad about this, or that's not fair, and I blame this, and pointing fingers, and it's really important, and it's definitely easier said than done, but very important that we are selective and intentional about where we want to focus our energy. And I'm certainly not perfect, and I can get very worked up about things, but sometimes you have to just say, stop it. In the big picture, what does this all mean?
Wow. Very philosophical. We could be here talking about life philosophy for a long time.
Right? And it's so interesting because, people say, oh, you're a safety advocate. Yes, I am. But also I'm a safety philosopher. And I never said that out loud before either. But I think
we'll add that to your
writing. Yeah, hashtag safety philosopher. But it's a holistic approach because really a workplace injury starts long before that day at work. It's systems, it's attitudes. Well, so let's use my situation, for example. Why not? So I stepped over top of a moving conveyor belt. Why would I do that? People say, oh, to take a shortcut because you're busy, to save time. I was 21 years old. I'm getting the same paycheck, whether I'm going fast or whether I'm going slow. I'm not looking for a promotion. It's my last year here. I'm going off to live my life after this. This is a summer job. So I'm not saving time. I'm not rushing to take a shortcut. I'm watching other people who I trust know the best way to do this job, and I'm doing what they're doing. Right? So the guard was removed and the emergency stop system was disabled. And the mill was fined for those infractions.
Got it.
A fine does not make your leg grow back. And in Canada, if this had happened to me in the United States, I would have millions of dollars. And in Canada, you do not sue. So you are then a claim for compensation, and the mill or the company will pay fines. Now they're much more, there's new legislation now, but I don't want to get into those details. But really, I had no early education. So right now I'm lobbying for workplace health and safety to be a mandatory component. And I created a program called Step Up Your Safety for young workers. It is not training. It is awareness. Nobody's saying, what are your rights at the workplace? You can speak up. So then you go to work and someone talks to you about safety and you think, well, this is the first I'm hearing of this. Is it really that important? So I think we're missing opportunities to start talking about this at younger ages than we are right now. Safety shouldn't start when your first job starts.
True.
Right?
And yes, it usually does.
Exactly. And you want to get this information in a safe space, not when a paycheck depends. Not when you have to worry about what people think of you or what's going to happen if you say, I don't understand. I don't feel comfortable. So it's important that we educate earlier. So that's one of the contributing factors, I think.
Sure.
And then you have people that think, well, I'm good at taking this risk. I've gotten away with it over and over again. Distracted driving is a big one. Checking your phone when you're behind the wheel.
Right.
Oh, I'm good at this. I can get away with it. Maybe.
Habit, complacency.
Yeah. And the more you get away with doing the wrong thing, the easier it becomes to do more wrong things.
Sure.
Right?
Agree.
Yep. Until you go, oh, now I got hurt. And you realize the hard way, you only are going to get away with it until you don't.
Fair enough.
So we have to think about the example we want to set. I always say that safety is doing the right thing when nobody's looking.
Yeah. That's a great mindset to have. And I think we have that in Singapore, but certainly we can definitely promote that a lot more for sure.
Everybody can
worldwide.
Worldwide. I have to admit, a few weeks ago, I got caught speeding, and it's been over a decade since that has happened. I was driving to go do a speech.
Right.
And I didn't have to fly. It was local.
Right.
And I didn't leave enough time. And I got caught. And usually if you get stopped by the police, you're not going to be a happy person.
Sure.
And you're getting a fine. And I said to the police officer, thank you. And he said, Are you serious? I said, yeah, thank you. I talk about rushing. I talk about safety. And I can't believe I did this, but I should have known better because I could feel that I was rushing. I could feel that. And when we don't honor those gut instincts, then we find ourselves in trouble. So no matter how dedicated you are to safety and where you live in the world, you will always find the opportunity to make a little mistake. The important thing is when you do, to recognize it. And if somebody else pointed it out to you, say thank you.
I know. And then try not to make it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, try not to repeat.
Yeah, thanks for slowing me down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to talk about your experience that happened many years ago. You did mention when you're 21. Let's talk about the benefit of hindsight, the many years of reflection that you've had. Your perspectives have changed. Often a lot of time with such incidences, people look for someone to blame. They look for a supervisor or somebody like a worker or the company, right? But having reflected on your journey quite a few years ago, what is the hardest thing you've had to accept about 3 things? I want to talk about the responsibility, accountability, and safety.
Responsibility, accountability, and safety.
Yeah, I know.
So those 3 things can exist independently of one another.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
You have to have a sense of responsibility and accountability in order to contribute to cultivating a safe work culture.
Yes.
You need to have systems in place with regard to supporting safety.
Yeah.
If you want people to feel accountable and if you want to empower people to feel responsible, to speak up and to say, not on my watch. It doesn't matter what my role is here. It doesn't matter how much I get paid or what my title is. Every person in this world at some point in time is a leader. All it takes to be a leader is to have one person follow you, right? And so at some point in time, we're always leading. You just never know who's watching you. So maybe you think, oh, nobody asked me, but maybe they're not asking. Maybe they're watching, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so I know in my situation, I never felt, what's the word? I didn't feel that emotional, it didn't come naturally to me to want to blame anybody. I just didn't, right? I don't think it's thankfully, I don't know why that is about me. Now, my mother, who worked at the mill, she wanted to blame. She blamed everybody.
Right.
Why did you let this happen to my daughter? Why did you remove safety guards? How could this have happened? I'm sure she blamed herself. I'm sure my father did also, right? So as a parent, even, you have a role with regard to young worker health and safety, because where are your kids working? And is it safe? And in the end, if you say, well, I didn't know, that's not going to change anything that's already happened. So I think that words like responsibility are better than fault, and I think accountability is better than blame, because those are proactive words instead of words. If I blame you, my leg won't grow back. It's not going to do anything. And in fact, it's probably going to make me angry. And I'm giving away my power. So if I say everything is somebody else's responsibility, I'm giving away my power. So, I got caught by the police. That's my responsibility. Like when I was speeding, right? So I think we're so easy sometimes. It's easier to say, oh, I was unlucky, or I got caught. And So I think that it's more positive and empowering to think, how could I make a difference now moving forward? Right?
I hear you. I hear you.
And a lot of the people that I worked with still to this day get very emotional when they see me, because after I got hurt, all of those people who, I'm from a small town, they knew my mother, they knew me, they knew my father. We grew up in a small town. And so all of those people felt very responsible because they saw and knew that wasn't safe, but they just came to do it so often that they forgot until they heard me screaming.
I think when you take ownership of that story, you can also own the outcome of what comes after that.
That's right. We can't control sometimes everything that happens,
Correct.
but we can control how we react.
Yeah.
And we can control what we do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do sense that in your story.
Yeah.
And you've taken some full ownership and you're charging forward with it.
Absolutely.
Becoming an advocate and really helping to change workplaces. I mean, this has become the mission.
It's been the mission for 26 years. And I don't think it would have been so successful for me if I blamed other people all the time. You have to take accountability and take responsibility because safety is a choice. And nobody forced me to walk over the machine. I chose not to have a question. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So people say, I don't know if you say this in Singapore, people will say in Canada, oh, what you don't know can't hurt you.
Right.
Right? That's not true. What you don't know can hurt you.
Yeah.
But I didn't know almost killed me.
Right.
Yeah.